Welcome.
Hello.
It always fogs up my glasses. Anyway, this is Alex. We are going to do another shoot at this random ass location in a river in Calgary.
We're going on an adventure.
We're going on an adventure, so stay tuned and follow us along.
Wow.
Like, you really wouldn't expect it with all of these houses. We just made it down and it is beautiful. Just came down from there. Alex. We're just taking a break.
Readjusting.
My phone is almost dead, but it's fine. We're just deciding what we want to shoot next. So, yeah. See you. We're done.
Did it.
Freezing. The sun. We're just waiting at A&W for our order.
Yes. Yes.
We need food after that. That was such a long fucking.
This is why we do it.
Yeah.
We do it for the A&W.
Do it for the A&W. All right, okay, so that actually went really well that day. I think that was one of the only days that it worked out that it was super sunny. Every other day it's been a little bit cloudy or a little bit gloomy for some fucking reason. That's just Calgary. We're gonna edit this photo in our little video today, but I don't actually, we're not gonna do a whole lot because Alex has great skin, so we don't have to do a ton of editing. A couple minor things that we are going to look for. We're just going to smooth out the side here and her armpit. These are all things that pretty much everyone has. I normally like to start with cleaning up the photo, but again, she doesn't really have any very obvious spots that I would want to work on. I am going to do just a little bit though in her armpit area, but this I will probably tackle mostly. I don't know. We'll see if we do it in frequency separation or somewhere else, but just looking for little tiny things. I'm not going to get rid of any of the dirt or the sand because that is what makes this photo beachy. So we're going to keep that. I like pretty much everything in this photo. There's not really a whole lot. We got really lucky that day. Thank God. And then we had A&W and it was so good. And now I want A&W again, so it's possible. Well, maybe not. I was like, maybe I'll get it for lunch. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to keep that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to flatten that. Let's go open up these actions. I'm hoping to make a couple more. If I've already updated this, you'll notice this in my other videos because I'm going to update this with different options for you. Because sometimes I find I want just dodge or just burn or just, whichever one. And it's kind of annoying to have to set up the whole process. So this is just something I wanted to add for later. And for some reason, I think my actions have been fucked up because they keep doing this. There we go. Okay. Like I said, there isn't really a whole lot that we need to do. I am going to focus though on her armpit. Let's turn off the texture. And let's go to the patch tool. We don't want to get rid of too much because then it's going to look like just a blob of skin, and that's not going to look natural. So we'll keep some of these lines in here, and I'm kind of just arbitrarily picking what I want. I'm gonna go in with like dodge and burn as well, and just smooth that out and make it look a little bit more cohesive. But I think if you get rid of her whole armpit, it's just not going to look very natural. Now we have fixed the underlying color or skin tone or whatever you want to call that. So we have to do the same on the texture layer. Because if you don't, you're going to notice that line is going to be there because of all the texture that we have. And let me just go in and get this little teeny tiny area. Awesome, that looks pretty decent for now. I'm gonna fix more of it later, but I think that's a good start considering what we started with. Let's just take a look. Yeah, I don't want to change too much about it because it's, again, people have armpits. I'm not out here trying to completely remove their armpits, but we will just smooth that out a little bit. Just let me get rid of that. This little area may be a little tricky. Let's just see. I'm just gonna kind of grab sections that are close to where we're working. I kind of like that. I don't want to get rid of too much because again, it's gonna look really fake and awkward if we got rid of too much of that, but I do like that. The majority of her face, stomach area, all that looks pretty good. There's just a couple minor spots that I'm gonna do. And you could do this with Clone Stamp or with a different tool, but this seems to do it quicker, which I like. Not wasting as much time. I'm just going in, and if there's anything that sticks out, I'm happy. I'm gonna do most of this in dodge and burn anyway, so I'm not super concerned about how it's looking. I will isolate that vein. Just makes it look a little softer. Probably I'll do her actual hand in dodge and burn. I think a good tip is figuring out what it is, what you want to focus on. For a long time, I think I may have mentioned this in other videos, I could be repeating myself, but for a long time I would always edit and do the whole entire image, and you don't really have to if you don't want to. Or, just in general, you really don't need to touch the whole thing. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog snoring, but it's raining today. So he is very sleepy. Her face is pretty good. There's not really too much. Again, I'm gonna fix a little bit of her eyes and stuff in dodge and burn, but overall I'm quite happy with that. This is a pretty quick one because we got lucky that there was not it wasn't raining or anything. It was actually so nice, and I was like, what the fuck? We were planning to do it the day after, but we were like, well, maybe we'll just do it today. And then we ended up doing it, and I'm like, yeah, honestly, I think the next day it was still nice too, but quite happy that we ended up doing it that day because the sun was just perfect, and considering right now everything is miserable. It's like literally pouring rain. It's so cold. quite happy that we did it. So I'm gonna do some dodge and burn now. We're just gonna do a really quick, kind of like global dodge and burn first. Ooh, wrong section. I'm just using a slightly stronger flow just to kind of even out, if you can see before we get started. Like her arm up here, it's not quite as saturated, kind of looks a little bit lighter. Her leg is a little bit darker, more saturated. So I just want to even that out. This is something I notice a lot of people don't really do. Not that it's a bad thing. I just personally like when, I mean, yes, you're going to have nuances where like, yes, there is more shadow down here. So we're not going to do too much. But I do like to try and even it out a little bit because I just love how that looks. It looks a little bit more cohesive. We're going to focus mainly kind of on the shape of how we want things. Don't worry too much about if there's like minor details that you want to fix, because we'll do that in another dodge and burn layer. But for now, I'm kind of just evening out that arm, lightening up this leg just a smidge. Again, keep in mind there are shadows down here, so we don't want to completely remove them. I wouldn't do that and try to like completely lighten it, because again, it's going to be darker down there. Let me bring that back down. It's mostly just about being quite selective about where you're placing, keeping it somewhat similar to what you shot, because, or mostly similar, I should say. And adjusting smaller parts. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, so it just looks a little more cohesive. I might just keep the black and white off and just do a little bit around her face. Because when you burn, it tends to also add a teeny little bit of saturation, I find. And when you dodge, it tends to obviously lose a lot of luminosity. So, okay, I think I kind of like that. It's really not that much different. We just brought some of that saturation back in, and we didn't really remove shadows. We brightened this section up just a teeny bit, but we're going to keep most of the natural shadows that were already there and just pulling them out a little bit. Okay, so I'm quite happy. I'm just going to do a little bit on her face here. Okay. Yeah, quite happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and you can merge them, or I forget. I said this in my last video. I know some people merge them but don't get rid of them. So you can do that if you want. I literally just do not fucking care. So we're going to open up a new dodge and burn layer. I'm actually going to go bring this up a bit because we're going to work on her face first. And obviously it's kind of hard to tell the transitions in her face when it's pretty low. So I'm not going to change too much. We're just going to get rid of any inconsistencies, or like her shadow here is a little patchy. Oh my god, my dog is snoring so loud. I seriously hope that it's recording this because it's hilarious. Can you hear that? Leave a comment if you can fucking hear Kai. It's hilarious. I've never seen a dog that gets tired when it's cold outside, but he does. And he will go ham with sleeping. I wish I could sleep as much as he does. Okay, so as you can see, we are kind of just evening that out a little bit. I did change the shape slightly. And this is where it's pretty important to kind of know what you do want to change in the photo. Because some stuff you can kind of get away with reshaping. Like usually, like obviously, I tend to do that sometimes with uh, I don't want to say face shapes, but like sometimes if it's not quite sitting right where I want it, you can get away with doing that. But other times you'll try it. And this is something where it's kind of like you just literally have to do it. And then you'll kind of learn, like, okay, well, I tried that one time and I was not able to get away with it. So it's kind of just like trial and error. But usually, if it's like the bone structure of their face, you'll find it's harder to completely change. But things like makeup and stuff, you can kind of fiddle around with. And I mean, obviously, if you're working with a makeup artist, you want to keep it true to what they put on the face. But also, one benefit too is that, you know, if you're working with someone who's learning, or maybe something about the makeup is not totally how you wanted it, you can make it look how you wanted. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I didn't want to do anything crazy. We're just kind of bringing out those shadows and highlights and just making sure that the transitions are smoother. She wasn't wearing super dark eyeshadow anyway, so I'm not going to like completely darken it. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. Just looks like a little bit smoother and more purposeful. Okay. So again, we are not going to do too much in terms of completely messing with the shape of the highlights on her body, because we don't want to change her body, obviously. But I am just going to go in like smaller areas like the collarbones, the neck, where there's a lot of little teeny tiny highlights and shadows. You can go in and just make those pop a little bit. I don't know if it's showing. Just bring in kind of some of that contrast. I am actually, though, one area we will work on a little bit is the armpit. And this isn't too bad. I'm actually kind of impressed with how I did. I'm just going to keep the shadows fairly similar. I'm just kind of trying to make them all the same in luminosity. So let's see. Yeah, that's better. You just want it to be kind of even, right? You don't want to totally change the direction, but there was some kind of patchy parts in there before we start. That's better, yeah. And then you can just kind of go over the highlights that you see. Alex doesn't have like any blemishes or anything like that on her skin, so there's not like a lot of work to really do. And I like to keep things a little bit more on the natural side. I feel like it makes it look a little bit more fancy, and then just really popping those highlights and shadows. So it's a pretty quick retouch when you have the time. I say, even though it takes me like 12 weeks to do any retouching ever. I'm just gonna go in and very softly dodge and burn that vein. I'm not going to totally get rid of it, because I think that would make it look a little fake. But I'm just gonna lighten it a smidge, and then it doesn't look as dramatic, I guess, is the right word. Now her hands were a little red, but that's okay. We will work on that in the color grading. I'm going to leave that. I think I'm kind of happy with that for now. Let's just go to the side of her body here, and we're just going to kind of even out the shadows that we had here. We don't have to do too much. Let's see. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And let's just accentuate this under boob situation. Thanks, Alex. And we're gonna go, whoop. So this is a cool or a cool example. I think, what videos do I have? Well, Paige was a good example too. If you saw my video with Paige in, it was like, I think it's called Swimsuit Shoot in Canada or something like that. But in that video, I very quickly learned that you need to literally saturate the person that you're working with in body oil. So this is great because this was all natural light. I didn't have a reflector. I don't really use reflectors. The less equipment that I have, the better, because I'm lazy, to be honest. So this was cool because we had a natural light shoot and we got so many really in-depth highlights or intense, whatever you want to call it, which was cool because we had the sun working in our favor. So that was really cool. I'm just gonna zoom out here and just work a little bit on a larger scale. I definitely recommend zooming out often as you're doing this because you don't want to work on an area and then completely fuck it up and then come back and be like, oh shit, this always happens to me. I end up dragging shit out of my computer. Okay, let's just take a quick peek. I'm quite happy with this. Sorry, I got so distracted for a second there. I'm just gonna lighten a little teeny tiny bit on her chest here, but nothing crazy. Now, let's see. I am quite happy with that. Let's just turn this off. Let's see. Again, it doesn't take very long, especially if you get everything right before you take the photo into Photoshop. So it's cool because we lucked out with the sun. And like, if you shoot outside, I honestly have such a newfound respect for people that shoot outside because I, for the last couple years, was shooting inside and never needed to worry about what the weather was going to be like. And let me tell you, the literally maybe 2 weeks that I've been doing this has been a pain in the ass with the weather. I'm working on a video. Hopefully, I have no idea. I could not give you a timeline, but I'm working on a video where we actually went out and it was so windy for this place. If we were in an ideal situation, obviously we wouldn't have so many factors, but the reason I like making these videos is because I think a lot of people don't have access to a beach in LA. Realistically, how many people actually are watching this and, you know, live in LA or whatever. So I just thought it was quite entertaining to try and do something where we are obviously not in the US, and hopefully it provides some sort of entertainment or, you know, information about how you can also do it, because I don't think you should let your location stop you from shooting the stuff that you want to shoot. You can make a way, find a way, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I just fixed that little spot because I felt like it looked a little odd. Let's see. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this. I think I'm gonna honestly leave it. Well, move on, I should say. I'm not overly picky. Now, what we're gonna do is I just made this new layer. I'm gonna go to color. This is my just like real quick color grading vibe. Just pick a tone that I like. Let's try that. And then we're just gonna paint over her skin. We may have to do a little bit of color correction, but I'm literally want it all cohesive except her lips and, you know, I'm doing her eyes. If she was wearing like a different colored eyeshadow, maybe, but or maybe I would leave it out, sorry, but I think I'm just gonna keep it because I like use my little eraser. I'm just gonna erase a couple spots. Okay. Using a smaller brush, we're gonna go over her fingers real quick. Okay. I find this is a really nice, very quick way of bringing together all of the skin and all of that and just making it all the same color. It does a fairly good job actually of color correction too, but I mean, in terms of like being a natural retouch or natural color correction, if they're very red, which I'm just gonna do it anyway. I would just change the color slightly like that in hue saturation, because her hands are very warm in this. There we go. I feel like that looks a little bit better. And then it's not like aggressively red. I'm just bringing down the yellows in this image, and then I'm gonna go and do the color lookup table, and I'm gonna upload the one of the presets that I had from, where is it? Oh goodness, this is so annoying. I like my iCloud wasn't working and then it relocated everything. There we go. These are the Prince Mason, I don't know how to say his name. Color lookup tables. I haven't figured out personally how to do the color lookup table because I think they're cool, but I like his skin tone color grading. If you don't watch his YouTube, I'll link it below because it's cool. He has some really cool tutorials. And then I'm just gonna do levels just to pop those highlights a little bit. And there we have it. I might bring that down just a little bit. Okay, so let me just quickly throw all this into a folder. And that's kind of roughly what we started with. And here we are. Nothing super crazy. Oh, I guess I also had the dodge and burn and frequency separation, but here we go. This is the final image, and just one of the photos that we took when we were out there, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions about anything that I was doing, if you want something more in depth, let me know. But yeah, this is a great example of how nice it is when you basically get the photo exactly how you want it before you edit it. There's a lot less work. I mean, it's not that you can't do it the other way. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult for you. Like, for example, when we did pages, we were shooting and it was so cold and gloomy. So we had to kick up the warmth in the photos and do all of that on top of editing everything else. And they were a little bit darker, so we had to brighten them. And I mean, it sounds so minuscule, but well, and it kind of is. But just the benefits of shooting in the perfect setting versus shooting in situations where you might have to do a little bit more work. And honestly, if I wanted this to be super polished, I could go in and spend a little more time, but again, I kind of like the slightly more natural look. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.